So now colonization and the city. What happened to the cities after the colonization? Dude, you have seen the life of the people had changed. Okay, Madurai was the history of the temple of the town. Like Madurai, will not be short as sorry, will not be the same as manufacturing town like the Deccan and port like sort of towns were simultaneously served many different functions. So in the West world, modern cities emerged with industrialization. In Britain, industrialized cities like Leeds and Manchester grew rapidly in the 19th and 20th century. And more people sought jobs, housing, and other facilities in this place. However, unlike Western Europe, Indian cities did not expand as rapidly in the 19th century. Why was it so? In the late 18th century, Calcutta, Bombay, and Madras saw rose in importance as presidency cities and became the centers of British power. Okay, at the same time, the host of smaller cities declined. Many towns where manufacturing of specialized goods declined due to the drop of the demand for what they had produced. Old trading centers and ports could not survive when the flow of trade were moved to the new cities. Okay, and this was often known as de-urbanization. How many Delhi is before New Delhi? You know, Delhi was the capital of modern India. Did you know that? Also know that it has been a capital for more than 1,000 years, although with some gaps. As many as 14 capital cities was found in a small area about 60 square miles on the left bank of the river Yamuna. The remains of the other capitals have been seen on a visit of the modern city-state of Delhi. The most important of the capital cities, were built between 12th and the 17th century. The most of the splendid cities was Shahjahan. Shahjahanabad was had begun in 1639, consisted of a fort palace complex and a city adjoining it. The Lal Killa, the Red Fort made of red stone. Okay, West Walled City, 14 gates. The main streets of Chandni Chowk and Fez Bazaar was brought for the royal procession to pass. So the canal ran down from the entire Chandni Chowk. Now Delhi during Shahjahan's time was also an important center of Sufi culture. Okay, dargahs, khandas, and idgahs were built. Okay, yet this was no ideal city. The delights were enjoyed. Sorry, the delights were enjoyed by only some. The rich and there were subdivisions between the rich and the poor. Okay, Havelis mentions interspersed with the far more numerous smart houses of the poor, the colorful world of the poetry, and dance was usually enjoyed by the men. Furthermore, celebrations and presents often led to serious conflicts. The making of New Delhi, demolishing the past, planning a new capital, life in the time of partition. Okay. Now, they are demolishing the past. The living space of the Indians and British were softly separated. Indians lived in the black areas while British lived in the well lit or out white areas. In Delhi, especially in the first of the 19th century, the British lived along the wealthy Indians in the world city. The British learned to enjoy the Urdu Persian culture and poetry and participate in local festivals. In the establishment of the Delhi College in 1792, they led a great intellectual planning of sciences as well as humanities, largely in Urdu language. May refer to the period of 1830 to 1857 as the period of Delhi Renaissance. All this changed after the 1857. During the revolt, as you have seen, the rebels gathered the city, persuaded Bahadur Shah to become the leader of the uprising. Delhi remained under rebel control for 4 months. When the British regained the city, they embarked as a campaign on the revenge and or plunder. What happened? This famous poet Ghali witnessed the events of the times. The ransacking of Delhi in 1857, when the angry lions entered the town, they killed the helpless and burnt houses. Hordes of men and women, commoners and noblemen poured out of Delhi from the three gates and took shelter in small communities and tombs outside the cities. To prevent another rebellion, the British exiled Bahadur Shah to Burma, dismantled his court, and razed several of his palaces, closed down gardens, and built barracks of troops in the place. British wanted Delhi to forget its Mughal past. The area around the fort was completely cleared of gardens, positions, and mosques, and through these temples was there and put into use. Zinatal Mosque was extended for 5 years. One third of the city was demolished, and canals were filled up. Okay. Now planning a new city. So planning of a new city also took place. The Queen Victoria was administered as the Empress of India during the revolt. The British had realized the Mughal Emperor was still important to the people as they saw as a leader. It was important to the British, so they were British power with pomp and show in the city of the Mughal emperors. When King George V was crowned in England at Dubai, he was held in Delhi to celebrate the occasion. The decision to shift the capital of India from Calcutta to Delhi was announced as his birth. New Delhi was constructed as a 10 square mile city at the Rajasthan hill south of the existing city. Rashtrapati Bhavan was made, okay, and classical Greece empiric was made. The Buddhist stupas were copied from the Sanchi, and the Mughal architectures were also copied. Now, this New Delhi, it took 20 years to be built. It, okay, only you know this much. Life in the time of partition. Now, in the partition of the time 1957 led to a major transport of both the sides of the new border. As a result, the population of Delhi swelled. The kinds of job people changed, and the culture of the city became different. Days after the Indian independence and partitions, fierce during such days, thousands of people in Delhi were killed and their homes were looted and burned. As stream of Muslims left Delhi for Pakistan, their places were taken by large number of Sikhs and Hindu refugees from Pakistan. Refugee roamed in the streets of Shahjahanabad, searching for empty homes to occupy. At the time, they forced Muslims to leave or sell their properties. Over two-thirds of the Delhi Muslims migrated. Almost 44,000 homes were abandoned. Terrorized Muslims lived in the makeshift camps till they could live for Pakistan. At the same time, Delhi became a city of the refugees. Nearly 5 lakh people were added to Delhi's population. Okay, the most of these migrants were from Punjab. They stayed in the camps, schools, military barracks, and gardens, hoping to build new homes. Some got the opportunity to occupy residences that were vacated, others were housed in refugee colonies. Okay, new colonies such as Lajpat Nagar and Tilak Nagar came up in this time. Okay, the skills and the occupation of the refugees were quite different. Okay, many of the Muslims who went to Pakistan were artisans, petty traders, and laborers. The large migration from Pakistan changed from when social media of Delhi, an urban culture largely based on Urdu, was overshadowed by the new tastes of sensibility in food, dress, and arts. Now, inside the old cities, meanwhile, what happened to the old city that is Shahjahanabad? Okay, in the past, Mughal Delhi framed canals that not only brought fresh drinking water to the homes, also used water for domestic purposes. The system of the wells was also broke. The broke-down canals could serve as the needs of the population. At the end of the 19th century, Shahjahanabad drains were closed and a new system was introduced. The system was too overburdened. And what happened to the Havelis? Okay, on the map of the mid-19th century, so at least hundreds of such Havelis which were walled compounds with mansions, courtyards, and forts. The Haveli housed many families. Entering the Haveli through a beautiful gateway, you reached an open courtyard and surrounded a public room meant for the visitors and businesses used extensively for the meals. The inner courtyard with the pavilions and the rooms were meant for women of the household. Rooms in the Havelis were for multiple use and were little by the way of furniture. Many of the Mughal armies were unable to maintain this large establishment under the conditions of the British rule. Havelis therefore began subdivided and sold. Often the street front of the Havelis became shops and or warehouses. Some Havelis were taken off by the upcoming mercantile classes, but many fell to decay and disuse. The municipality begins to plan. So according to the census of 1931, 90 persons per acre, while New Delhi had only 3 persons per acre. Okay, so the poor conditions of the world city, however, did not stop it from expanding. In 1888, an extension scheme of the Lahore Gate Improvement Scheme was planned from Robert Clark for the world city citizens. The idea was to draw the citizens away from the old city and to a new type of market square, and around which the shops would be rebuilt. In a grid pattern, the land was used to subdivide it into clear gauge. Okay, and they did not help the congest of the city road. Then Improvement Trust was set up in 1936 and built areas such as the Daria South for the wealthy Indians. Houses are grouped around the parks within the houses. Instead of space being shared by many families, families had their private spaces within their homes. So this was the video.